All right, welcome back to the Copywriters Podcast with your host, the world's greatest copywriting coach, David Garfinkel. David, how are you doing today?
I'm so excited.
I am excited too, and the viewers can see this. The listeners are going to have to wait a couple of seconds to find out why we're so excited. But what do we got going on for this week's episode of the Copywriters Podcast?
Okay, well, listen to this. Our guest today is $1 Million Mike Morgan, who has broken sales record after sales record with his sales letters and VSLs. Mike is now copy chief for Money Map Press, a major direct response publisher. He's also a still very active copywriter. He doesn't have time for many podcast interviews, so we're especially grateful he could join us today. Here's why he's here. Let's say you've just written a great sales letter for a product launch. Well, guess what? Your work is not done yet. You still need emails, lots of them, to your list, to your new customers after they buy, and to affiliates to mail out for you. Plus, you also need ads and advertorials to get prospects to your page. Oh, and don't forget, these have to be done fast. Well, Mike has just the solution to your problem, and I've got to say, it's pretty cool. In fact, what Mike has to say is much cooler than what I'm telling you now. Copy is powerful. You're responsible for how you use what you hear on this podcast, and most of the time, common sense is all you need. But if you make extreme claims, or if you're writing copy for offers in highly regulated industries like health, finance, and business opportunity, you may want to get a legal review after you write and before you start using your copy. My larger clients do this all the time. Mike, thanks for being here. Welcome back. And I'm excited about today's show.
Well, thank you for having me. You were the genesis of this whole thought. Just to preview this for everybody, I did a presentation at Money Map Press. We're part of Agora. I did a presentation for our 14 new copywriters, and a lot of the stuff that I do it like unconscious, and the Master Jedi, David Garfinkel, helped me to get that unconscious stuff into the conscious. So thank you.
You're welcome. And to elaborate on that a little bit, Mike does all the things that he's going to tell us about today. In other words, when he writes a promotion, he may have to rapid fire come up with lifts, which is Agora speak for emails, as well as advertorials, ads. And he might have 2 or 3 or 4 months for a copy, although what he's going to talk about today will also help you write copy faster. But he doesn't have 2 or 3 or 4 months for those pieces that are what he calls the ad for the ad, the pieces that are going to get prospects to the page. So he knows how to do it, but he didn't know how to tell other people how he did it. He just did it, So he called me up and he said, hey, could you help me unpack my unconscious mind? And I said, well, that's a scary thought. But we managed to limit it to, how he does all these things really fast. What's interesting is this is not some kind of Svengali mystical, hocus pocus kind of stuff. This is basically taking a lot of the things that you've already done, or if you're doing this for another copywriter, that the copywriter has already done, and leveraging that. So you don't have to start from scratch, which unfortunately is where a lot of people start when they're trying to come up with ads for the ad. So Mike, why don't you walk through, what you discovered and what are some of the actual step-by-steps and some examples and how people can avoid roadblocks and so forth.
Let's see. So for this presentation, I went through the exact same process I'm going to teach. And, it's all about this, fast first draft. And, a lot of times when you're writing your first draft, well, with me anyway, maybe if I'm lucky, 20% of it makes it to the final. A lot of this is about letting go of your ego. And Gary Halbert had this great little exercise that he had us do at a seminar. And that was where you wrote your name on a piece of paper, and then he had to crumble it up and throw it away. And he said, that's your ego. Tear that bad boy up. There's no room for your ego when you're writing copy. In fact, like your ego is your enemy when you're writing copy. And that inner critic that everybody has, that's really the personification of that ego. Basically, I have 10 rules for fast writing. And rule number 1 is writing is rewriting. And Ernest Hemingway said it best: the first draft of anything is shit.
It's true.
And yeah, it's true. To write great copy, you've got to be willing to write bad copy. And by bad copy, I don't mean like phone it in, but it's less than optimal. But it's okay. And the faster you get something on paper, the faster you can start to improve it. So you're going to rewrite anyway. I know a lot of rookie copywriters love to throw their first drafts out there to clients and say that here's your copy. That's not the way we do it at MoneyMap. In fact, a promo of mine that might be an hour-long VSL, I rewrite it 7 times. So there's a lot of rewriting, but
you're not a chest beater. I know that, but a promo that you rewrite 7 times, how much with everyone understanding you get a royalty for it, how much gross dollars, how much money does something like that bring in on a good day?
I don't know, on a good day, maybe $500,000. I mean, I've had copy that did $1 million in a day. But yeah, I mean, pretty significant amount of money and a lot of royalties on the line.
Yeah. So, the only reason I ask that is to point out that, well, we're talking about real money, but also that it's worth rewriting it 7 times, because when you get it to that level, it can really perform.
Absolutely. And it's worth it that way when you're a rookie copywriter too, and you're out there trying to make your name in the business, right? Because, the more good copy I wrote, the more word got out that, this guy's writing great copy. I need to hire him, right? So, the better you can do with your copy, of course, the better your career is going to be. I mean, this is a results first business. But, this first draft, it's just, it is what it is. It's something, it's almost like a brain dump. You're getting things on paper. And really, your first job with that draft is to get into flow. So I'm going to talk about fast writing rule number 2, and that's know your stuff. The guy who's the head copy chief at MoneyMap, and he's my writing partner, he says the reason that I'm such a great copywriter is that I know my stuff forward and backward. And a lot of writers, they start out with that intimidating blank sheet in front of them, and they get writer's block, right? The only reason you get writer's block is because you don't know enough. And if you are staring at that blank page, you want to get in and you want to do more research. So that research is key. And when you're writing emails and lists and ads and advertorials, there's basically 4 things that you can do to really get prepped. The first thing that you can do, of course, is you read the promo or you watch the promo if it's a VSL. And basically you can cut and paste lines out of that VSL and use those in your ads and lists and emails. You may have to put them together, with a little baling wire and chewing gum. But hey, that's what a good copywriter does, right? So you just connect all those things together. The second thing to do is to read the promo or watch the VSL and write down all the best ideas, all the most intriguing ideas that you hear or read in that copy. And each one of those ideas is a good lift or an ad or an advertorial. You got to know that one idea forwards and backwards, not the entire subject. And, it doesn't matter what that idea is. It doesn't have to be the, best idea in the universe. It just has to be one idea. It's that rule of one. I mean, that's the key to being a good copywriter.
Yeah, let me comment on that. I think it's a really good point. You're going to have probably your best idea as the theme of your promo, but you're going to have a lot of other ideas in there to support it or to keep it interesting or to illustrate it or to engage the customer. And any one of those ideas could be the start of a great advertorial, because the purpose of the advertorial or a lift, an email, an ad is not to sell the person on the product. It's to sell them on finding out more about the promo, about the
Just
product.
to sell the click.
Yeah. And so that does not require as much heavy lifting. So something that might be like a supporting cast idea in your main promo could actually be the star of an ad or an email.
Yeah, and we've seen it many, many times. Like, I just wrote this big crypto promo, and one of the ideas that we talked about in there was Fidelity was going to allow Bitcoin in their 401k plans. We made a bunch of ads and advertorial about it that were kicking butt. So I mean, that's just one simple example.
Yeah, and the promo itself was not about Fidelity allowing Bitcoin in the
Not at all. Not at all. That was a line 20 minutes into the video.
Okay, that's
but it's a powerful idea.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. It's great stuff. Okay, what's next?
Fast writing rule number 3 is set goals. Ray Bradbury says, the faster you blurt, the more swiftly you write. So I always set a goal for myself of how many words in X minutes. Like if I'm doing a first draft on my VSL, I'm going to set a goal to do at least 1,500 words a day. That way I can get that, I can get my first draft done in a week or 10 days. Then there's the Eugene Schwartz hack. Probably most people know that. And that's set a timer for 33 minutes and write for 33 minutes and then take a 10-minute break. If you're writing lifts, ads, and advertorials and stuff, that's great advice. And, you don't have to do it exactly the way Eugene Schwartz did it. Maybe 20 minutes works better for you. Maybe 45 minutes works better for you. Find that sweet spot. But I do find that when I'm writing a VSL, that you get into that writer's trance, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But that you get in that writer's trance, and you don't want to get up. You don't want to take a break because everything's flowing.
Yeah.
And there you let it flow. But for writing emails and all and that stuff where you're writing fairly short copy, it's great to chunk up your time a bit. As time goes along, you get better and better at hitting those goals. And when you do, the act of setting a goal, it releases dopamine. And that dopamine gives you a bit of a high. It motivates you to take productive action. And, you also get that when you get close to achieving that goal. So it becomes like this, neurotransmitter happy loop.
Yeah. No, that's very cool.
Right. So fast writing rule number 4, write an outline. And it just has to be a quick and a dirty outline. The first part can be the hook, and then you've got your body, and in that body you want to build curiosity. And then at the end you want to have a call to action, and remember again, you're selling that click. And the key though is to build that curiosity, to open up a loop that can only be closed when you click to the promo. That is like your ultimate goal. And our friend, our mutual friend, Mark Joyner, he wrote about curiosity in a book of his. What was the name of the book?
The Irresistible Offer?
No, Mind Control Marketing. I think he talks about it in The Irresistible Offer too, but Mind Control Marketing is really a great book. If you're out there and you're a copywriter or a marketer, you should find that book. I think he sells ebook versions of it. I have a printed one. But in that book, he talks about something called the Zeigarnik effect. And the Zeigarnik effect, it says that people like stories to be complete. That means they love to have that loop closed, right? And if you're like leaving them incomplete and you're leaving that open loop, and the only way they can satisfy that curiosity is to click on the link and go to the promo to close that loop. It's just an ingenious way to get a lot of clicks. And yeah, remember, you're selling the click. You're not selling the product.
Okay, that's
Our rookie
good.
copywriters get that wrong.
I know a lot of clients do too. They're so in love with their product that they insist that you tell the whole story in an email or an ad, and it ruins things.
Yeah, and you don't need the whole story. You only need part of that story. And if the rest of the story is on the VSL or or on the sales page, then bam, get people so curious they have to click and find out how to close that loop.
That sounds good. So what's the next rule?
Fast writing rule number 5 is to write with energy. In fact, writing fast is all about having energy. And that energy, it helps you tap into emotion. And remember, people act for emotional reasons. They buy, they click for emotional reasons. They may justify it with logic, but what makes people do things is not logic. It's all about emotion, and any good copywriter knows that. So, writing with energy is really going to help you to tap into that emotion. Okay, fast writing rule number 6 is get focused. Get free of distractions. Turn off your phone. Turn off your email. Unconnect your internet if you need to do that. The more distractions that you have, the slower you're going to write. So you've got to have some discipline, and you've got to set boundaries. Like I've been in the office for like 14 of my 17 years as a copywriter. I had my own office, and when the pandemic hit, I moved my office home. And the first rule I made is that when that door back there is closed, do not disturb. Do not knock on the door unless it's an emergency. And it took a little while to get people conditioned into it, but I mean, now no one goes to that door unless it's an emergency, and then then I don't mind.
That's the problem for a lot of people who work at home. We had Carlene Anglade on the call, and when she was working at home, she had 2 young kids, and she said, unless something is stuck in your eye, you go to see Dad. I'm writing. I'm at work. Worked.
Exactly, and once you're in that flow and somebody interrupts that flow, I mean, it doesn't come back right away. It may take another half hour or an hour to get back into that flow, and that's ruin for a writer, right? When you're in flow, you need to stay there.
Okay, so I hope everyone is working at home and has been casual about this. Here's Mike out, because that's a really important point.
Yeah. Fast writing rule number 7 is trust the process. So all the stuff I just talked about, okay, trust everything you've done up to this point. trusting that process is where the rubber meets the road. And we just talked about this focus, and maybe I should have talked about this then, but avoid rabbit holes. It's easy to get in a rabbit hole, drop into a rabbit hole while you're trying to write. And you might think, oh, I'm going to get some really juicy stuff out of this, right? But you're not writing, and you get paid for writing, right? Get all that research done up front, and then you're not going to have a problem. You'll be able to focus better. But just trust this whole process that it works, because it does.
The thing about trust, I agree with you, but I'm thinking of a possible problem people might have. Trusting the process could seem weird when you say, God, what I'm writing is shit. This process doesn't work at all. I've got to go. No. Hemingway said your first draft is shit. The process is to write shit and then to rewrite it, right?
Exactly. And so, don't be afraid of that. That is that inner critic that's inside your head that's like, you're not good enough. This copy's not good enough. Or if you're just writing and then editing and writing and editing and writing and editing, you want to blast out that first draft as fast as you can. Like I said, my writing partner, Terry Weiss at MoneyMap, when he first started with MoneyMap, gosh, I don't know, 11 or 12 years ago, that's what he used to do, is write lists and emails and advertorials. And what he noticed was that the faster he wrote them, the better that they were. And yeah, he had to go back and edit them for sure. But just, writing them fast with that energy was, it gave him a lot better results than, slaving 6 hours over a first draft of of an advertorial.
Yeah, and you found the same thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, another famous Mark Joyner quote that he was a client of mine, and I spent some time with him. Like, I lived with him for 3 weeks in New Zealand back a long time ago. He says that speed equals money, or that money loves speed. That's it. Money loves speed. And that is something I live by, that money loves speed. And I don't know how it works, but it's like one of those like freaky things of nature.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so what's next?
Fast writing rule number 8. You want to shift when you're in your writing. We talked about this writing trance. So you want to shift from your conscious mind to your semi-conscious mind. Okay, we're not going totally unconscious mind, but there's a shard of that conscious mind and a big piece of the subconscious mind, and that's where you want to get your head when you're writing, because conscious writing is work, but semi-conscious writing is easy and fun. Basically, you're playing this psychological game with yourself to get yourself into the writing trance. That conscious writing, it brings in your logic and your inner critic that tells you, geez, I'm not good enough, or gosh, I need to do it right the first time. Well, you don't. I've never done any piece of copy right the first time. Never. And I wrote a piece of copy that I had 24 hours to write. I'd used this whole process, I knew that product forward and backward. I did have some help. I had an assistant who was like looking through all the product and finding me all the great ideas that, I could write bullets about and that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of speed involved there. And I mean, I still had 3 drafts of the thing before I turned it in 24 hours.
Wow.
So again, you never do it right the first time. Never, never, never. I don't care if you're a rookie copywriter or if you're me who sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of product. You're never going to get it done right. And that semi-conscious writing, it allows you to make more mistakes. It helps you to give yourself some grace. And it makes you have more fun. And your semi-conscious mind, it revels in outrageousness, right? So you can be outrageous, be totally outrageous when you're doing your writing, because like, our friend John Carlton says, it's way easier to walk it back than it is to pump it up, right? So you can get super outrageous in that first draft.
Right. So I would say what you're saying, or what I would say for copy is what's more important in your first draft is not the ideas, it's not the correctness, the accuracy, the logic, punctuation. What's most important initially is the energy, the momentum, and the fun that you're having. That's what really
Exactly.
going to give it the lift.
And the more fun you have, the better. I mean, man, writing could be a freaking torturous thing. You and I both know that. But the more you can have fun with it, the better. And that first draft is just the perfect time, to really have fun when you're writing.
Yeah, I've never figured out how to have a whole lot of fun when I'm proofreading.
Yeah, no. No, it doesn't work. And a lot of times you're not going to have a ton of fun when you're editing either.
That's true. Okay, what's the next rule?
Fast writing rule number 9 is to write placeholders to keep yourself in flow. Well, there's another writer I follow on Facebook, Thomas Dean Donnelly. He talks a lot about writing, and I found that we do a lot of similar things. He's a screenwriter and a novel writer, and so he's not into like writing sales copy, but you can learn a lot from any writer. And he uses a process. He calls them IOUs. He calls them IOUZ. I just call them IOUs. And they're really they're your best friend. When you're trying to stay in flow, you don't have time to go back to your research document and look at, the study proving how good this ingredient in your supplement works, or the study proving, a certain type of trade works really well, right? So the best thing you do is just write IOU, the study proving X, or IOU, the name of the government program that you might be talking about if you forgot it. But those placeholders, they really help keep you in flow and help you get that first draft done really quick. And then when you're done with your first draft, then you can go in and you can fill those things in. So it's a major, major speeder upper using IOUs.
Placeholders. Okay, that's really IOUs. Yeah.
All right. So we're down to fast writing rule number 10. Maybe one of my favorite rules. And that is that writing fast creates happy accidents. Happy accidents they're like one of the greatest benefits in writing. I know they happen to me all the time when I'm writing long copy, and they happen to me sometimes when I'm writing, an email or a lift. I might get this line in there that's like, oh, maybe, this is a better way to approach this whole idea. And but if I wasn't writing fast, I might not come up with that. And when I'm done and I'm reading my copy to start doing my editing, I will look at that thing and I'll say, wow, there's a happy accident right there. And that's something that, I may rewrite 99% of the lift or the advertorial or the, whatever the copy around it. Or I might change my whole idea when I'm writing a VSL. It might just change my whole idea, my whole approach to that VSL in my second draft. These happy accidents are the one thing that could really help you set yourself up for success for that second draft. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. The last thing I'll say is sometimes you don't even know what a happy accident is. You might not recognize it. So it's always good to have other people reading your copy. And when you work for an Agora company like I do, man, a lot of people are reading your copy. They're all really good at writing copy. They're all really good at knowing our customer. So, they can help me sharpen things up. But you got to be really careful about who you're sharing your work with. I see people asking for critiques on, message boards and Facebook groups, and some of the, stuff that people write with authority is like, it's total bullshit. And it's totally wrong. So you got to be careful, who you're sharing that copy with. It should be like someone who is at least as good a copywriter as you, hopefully even better, and they're gonna help you. When you get up to the big leagues like in Agora, it's like copywriting is a team sport. Unless there are a few exceptions that I know of in my company where guys they're not sharing that first draft with anybody. But these are people who have written for 10 or 15 years, and they have a process down pretty good, and they really know what they're doing, right? But even for me, it's like, man, I thrive on that feedback.
Want to do a super quick recap?
Sure. Okay, writing rule number 1. Remember, writing is rewriting. You're always going to rewrite. Don't be afraid of it. Throw that ego away. You're going to rewrite one way or the other. Rule number 2, know your stuff. Okay, read the promo. Cut and paste at first. Highlight the best ideas. You can also do newsjacking, where you go and you find out what's going on in the news. I didn't talk about that. And you can use these like little news pieces to generate the curiosity and get people to click. Rule number 3, set goals. Remember, you're going to get a good dump of transmitters, and it's going to give you a high when you're setting the goals and when you get close to achieving them. Outline. Remember, it's hook, body, build curiosity, and then the call to action. Rule number 5, write with energy. If you don't have energy, you shouldn't be writing. Wait until you've got energy. If you need to take a walk or whatever it is that gives you energy. Get focused. Shut out all the distractions. Set rules and set boundaries. Trust the process. If you keep second guessing yourself the whole way through, you're never going to get a fast first draft done. Shift from the conscious mind to the semi-conscious mind. Remember, your semi-conscious mind, it likes to have fun. It gives you a break. It's not that inner critic telling you that you're not good enough. Rule number 9, write placeholders. Just a simple, I owe you this, and it's going to keep you in flow. And finally, look for those happy accidents that you're going to get when you write fast. They can be gems.
That's awesome. This is worth so much, and I'm so glad you had to get help to pull out what you already knew, and we could put it on this podcast. So thank you.
It was painful. It was like having a baby or a kidney stone.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm gonna add 2 cents at the end of the episode. I know we've gone long, but I wanted to get your take on this, Mike. I read your sales copy and I read your Facebook posts, and it was very clear to me very quickly that you're writing for 2 different audiences, and the audience that you write for when you're writing copy is not like a lot of copywriters eat their own dog food. They try to write for an audience that they're part of. You're very good at writing for an audience that you are not part of, and you don't
for sure.
You don't resort to like cartoonish stereotypes or anything like that. So I wanted to get your take on knowing the audience, because for me, I have clients that I've been writing with for years, and then I have clients where it's one-off projects. And the longer I know the audience, that seems to be something that's key for writing fast as well. And since you write for an audience that you very clearly know very well, but you're not part of particularly, I just wanted to get your thoughts on writing for that audience so well. Do you think that contributes to you being able to write faster?
Definitely. It definitely helps me write faster. And yeah, I'm not, at Agora, like our target market is, someone who's about my age, but their whole like worldview is completely different than mine. But I understand that worldview, and I've gone to some kind of great lengths to be able to understand it. First of all, my dad had that worldview. A lot of my friends have that worldview. A lot of people I know have that worldview, and I might talk to them about it and like dig up some stuff. And there's also a really great book called The Righteous Mind that I read that just takes it even 3 steps deeper.
Great book.
So yeah, knowing your audience is a big speed enhancer.
Okay, awesome.
Great question.
Before we're out of here, if people want to follow you on Facebook, I get a kick out of your posts, and I don't always agree with everything that you post, but I always get value out of seeing your insights on things. So I definitely recommend people finding you and following you. Is Facebook like the best place to follow you?
Yeah, I'm not doing like tons of social media here these days. When I became a copy chief, my workload expanded exponentially. So I'm not like posting as much as I used to. But I still do. I mean, I love like communicating with all my friends and my marketing friends and, friends around the world. So yeah, you can find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/$1million Mike.
Awesome. Thank you so much for both of you guys for putting this together and delivering it to our listeners. This is one of those have to go back and re-listen to a couple of times episodes. So I really appreciate you both putting so much into making this happen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing it, Mike. That's great.
All right. And if you, the listener, enjoyed this, make sure that you head over to copywriterspodcast.com. You can check out more episodes there. And until next time, thank you both, and we will catch you later.
See you later.